Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Science Rules the World. Okay, we're going to talk about a process that gets used in many situations. It's basically a chemical process using physical properties of substances to separate things that are in a mixture. The process is called chromatography. And it's a big word made out of little pieces. The first piece is chromato, or chromo, or chroma. And the last piece is graphy, or graph, or gram. Chromo, or chromato, means color, and graphy means to write. Now, it doesn't mean use different markers like I did on the whiteboard here. And actually, it doesn't even mean that you can see the colors anymore, but that's how the process was invented. Okay? It is a way to separate things in a mixture, and the mixture we're going to use is the ink inside this marker right here. Okay? And the process is going to involve a property of water that we've discussed before, the way that water molecules like to follow each other and travel along. Something else that you might realize, some things mix with water better than others. And so when you put those two things together, you can do chromatography. So here we have a piece of paper towel, just like the one we tested earlier this year when we were watching What Goes On. Okay. And if you can, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a little start line right here just above the edge of the paper, which will become important. So now I'm going to take the marker and I'm going to put a little dot of my sample mixture onto my paper towel. I don't need a lot to see what's going on. Okay, so now it looks like this. Okay. And here's the setup for our chromatography. We have this big beaker on the top that's controlling the atmosphere around what's going on the inside. Inside is a smaller beaker with a bit of water on the bottom. And then there's a little pencil on the top that's going to support the paper towel because we just want the edge of the paper towel to be in the water. All right, so I'm going to put it in there and then you can see how it looks when we start. All right, and here it goes. I'm going to put the cover back on. As you can see, the water is moving up the towel, just like we know. And is there a solid black spot moving up? Actually, no, there isn't. Okay, you can see where it started. Some of it actually moved down a little to meet the water. The water level is not as high as our start line. Now, the reason we have a start line is if we were really going to try to calculate this, we would measure how far different colors that are put together to make this black ink have traveled compared to where the water itself has gone. All right, we're going to let that run a little longer to see what it looks like. Okay? And we can do some measurements. That's how you would really do it if you were doing it in a chemistry lab to identify substances. You would already know how far a particular color moves with the water, so we would know what was going on. Now, we don't usually do this with marker ink. It's often done to separate components of a fluid found at a crime scene, or after you've to analyze a protein and see what goes into making it up. Things like that. Okay? So the water level is getting up there near the pencil. Okay. And we're getting a pretty pattern. We'll look at that again in a little bit when the water's done running. We don't want it to go over the top of the pencil. We just want it to get there. So when it does, we'll take a closer look at everything. Okay, so here we go. It's done. Do you see this line up here? That's where the water stopped. Okay, and the line right here is where it started. So when this is dry, we can measure the distance that the water traveled from here to here. And then we can measure how far each of the other colors traveled. See, after eventually they stopped moving because there wasn't enough force of the water moving to drag these other big molecules along. They were sticking on the paper towel. And then we can figure out how far this turquoise one traveled, and how far this yellow traveled, and how far this purple traveled from the beginning. And then we can calculate the ratio of that distance to how far the water went, and that's what chromatography is all about. Okay? So maybe you didn't think it was so exciting to watch water climbing up a paper towel, but it's actually a very important thing. All right? So that is our self-directed learning video for the day here on Science Rules the World. Just one more thing. When you fill out your assignment about this video, please answer the question, what does the word chromatography mean? Based on making the big word out of little pieces, what does chromatography mean? Okay? And I'll see you again in a few weeks on Science Rules the World. Bye.